All right, party people in the place to be, vandals, and all the creepy crawlies out there in underground tunnels. This is a brand new episode of the Pink Buzz, and this week, oh, this is a special one. This is a really, really cool interview. We have an award-winning creator on with us that is probably at the top of the game when it comes to up and coming sci-fi horror epics. I mean, I really enjoy everything that she's put out thus far, and without further ado, I'll go ahead and let her introduce herself. Welcome.
Hi, thank you guys for having me. I'm Becca, and I'm a horror sci-fi cartoonist, and I'm probably best known for Gehenna Death Valley, won a Joe Shuster Award in 2020, the year that everything like stopped happening, the year where the world stopped. And I just released my latest issue of the Wormhole Club Tragedy, issue 2, and that one got nominated for best cartoonist. No, sorry, issue 1 got nominated for best cartoonist. There we go.
From
Or favorite cartoonist from Sequential magazine.
Sequential,
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, I don't have my cue cards, so here we go. Live.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming on. Been following you on Instagram for a while. I backed your book back when it was on Kickstarter.
Thank you.
So like you post great stuff. I love following your work. I like seeing like when you go to conventions, you do some like commissions and stuff, and you post that stuff up. You're a great follow on Instagram. You're
Thank
pretty
you.
active. So anyone who wants to go check Becka out, it's the Becka. Just like you see there with an underscore, I believe, between the Becka. Yeah. So go check her out. She posts some fun stuff on Instagram, and you always post some really rad music when you're doing like process stuff, and yeah. I noticed that right away. I was like, oh man, she listens to some pretty rad stuff. So
I listen to metal, hardcore music, some punk, and with some synthwave thrown in there. So it's just the best thing to work with the kind of stuff I make. So yeah,
because that's it. I backed your Kickstarter, and then it took me a while to get used to Instagram, so I wasn't on there right away. So now that I'm more familiar with Instagram, so I prefer it now. It's like my favorite social media platform to go on, especially to follow creators and stuff. It's definitely a great platform to follow creators on.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool artists on there. So
big time.
Yeah, and it's great when you always find like-minded people from the horror and sci-fi community and like other genre. Hey, how's it going, Randall? And previous, sorry, I missed your name. Cookie Monster. Hi.
Yeah. She, you might I don't know if she does like crazy makeup. She's a great makeup artist.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she does a lot of. So you could go find her on Instagram. She does some like for Halloween too. She does some great stuff. She's a good follow on Instagram.
Okay, she's instant follow right there.
Super talented. Yeah.
Right on.
Cookie's awesome.
Yeah.
So the Wormhole Club Tragedy, that is really, really starting to pop off. I really, really liked how it really is picking up in the second issue. I was wondering, like, how long do you think this story arc is going to run for?
My initial plan was to keep it short and sweet, like about 4 issues, but there is potential for a spin-off. But we'll wait and see how that goes. But people are digging it, and I'm really happy about the reception because it's still horror, but it's a different direction from what Gehenna was, where it's just straight up monsters and not even a spoiler. You see it on the cover, So yeah.
Boris.
And yes,
Boris, great character. He was my favorite character, Boris.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And like, if anyone followed the Kickstarter campaign, there was a Boris statuette. That was designed by 3D sculptor Amanda Daly and was printed by Martin Slam Duncan. We'll get more to that later. But yeah, so I went from monsters to different kind of horror, more cosmic leaning, but it's still wholesome body horror content as always.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
There's some great with the portal there, the black hole, with the it's great stuff. I was like, oh man. Love that. Yes. It was awesome. Yeah.
It's so fun to draw. It's so gross, but it's I'm like, yeah, it's therapeutic. Why not?
Yeah. For the Wormhole, that's the project you're working on presently. Issue 2 just dropped last week, I believe. if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, just literally last weekend, like down the wire. But fortunately, the print shop I use is just minutes from where I live, so like, they got done within 2 days, and I'm like, "You guys are awesome." So huge shout out to Studio Comics Press with the quick turnaround time. But, yeah, so that's the latest one, and I'm hoping to get issue 3 out, later this year.
You're not kickstarting this one. This one you're just because you didn't run a Kickstarter or any kind of crowdfunding for this series, did you?
Or not yet. So
not yet. Okay.
So what I did for Gehenna, I released little bits of it in issues first, just because it takes me a long time to make a graphic novel, especially when I'm doing most of the work myself and I'm working on other jobs in between. It's a long time to wait, right? So when I go to conventions like Fan Expo or Toronto Comic Con, I like to have something at the table, like, oh, here's what I'm working on. Do you want to, check it out, buy an issue or whatever? So I'm doing the same approach with this one. And then once I have the story done, then I'll use the crowdfunding route to
do the full graphic novel. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
then, yeah, and then add some extra pages in there that are not available in the issues.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's smart though. It's great for like you said, to have stuff at conventions and
yeah. Because like people, it's one thing, like people, they see you, but then they look at your table and you're like, do you have anything new? So I just like to have something new at every show I go to, whether it's art prints or books. And the books is more satisfying, of course, because there's a story there. Yeah.
A lot of bands have been using that similar approach where they don't put out full albums. They'll just put out a single or an EP.
Yeah,
and then,
like 3 songs at most.
And then they start up another little tour. So they put out instead of put out a full album, they'll put out half the album as an EP, then do like a mini tour. Then when they go out for or a single, so they have something new out there to get the buzz going. So it's a good business strategy, and a lot of people kind of use that similar idea when
drop little crumbs for people, and then they can come back and buy the whole product. So
keep them interested, because you know how it is nowadays. People's attention spans are so short now. It's tough.
It is tough. You got to do what you can to get people's attention, so
this book is black and white, with a couple pages like we discussed before going live. You did a couple pages so far for each issue in color, and I was like, I dug that, because if you read manga, a lot of mangas do that, where they do the first couple pages are color, then it gets into the black and white, like most mangas are typically. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's a nice little touch,
Yeah. So like once the book is done, I ideally I want to color the whole thing, but for now, while it's in this stage, just give a little bit of a taste of where it may go. But as you said, like I grew up pretty much reading lots of manga, and I've got Akira here. So, as you said, like there'll be a couple pages or a few pages in color, and I'm like, why don't I try that with my stuff? Just have that kind of manga feel to it, even though
nice. Right when you open the book, you get that nice little pop right off the first couple pages, and then
and that's the thing with the cosmic horror. I love the color palettes that usually go with it, right? So I just feel like it'd be a wasted opportunity to not explore that, right? So
did you do the same thing with this one? Was it black and white initially, and you colored it for the Kickstarter, or were the first few issues that you put out, were they already colored, or
they were all colored?
They're already all colored. Okay.
So yeah. By doing it in black and white, for one reason, it's just quicker to get it out there that way, and then I could just color it later when I have time to get it done. So yeah,
very cool.
It looks really good in black and white, anyways, though. So
thank you.
No real rush, in my opinion.
Yeah, I may do once the Kickstarter, I get around to setting it up, I could do like one edition that's black and white and another that's color, and for people
because fans love that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. There's people that go crazy for different editions like that, and it's fun. It's really fun to nerd out over stuff like that, right? So
when I was like looking into stuff for the show, I noticed that you started off as what is it called?
A flatter.
Right? You do color flats for projects, and for some reason sex criminals kept popping up in the images.
Yep.
So you did the flats for some of the issues, or the okay. That's what I figured because it kept popping up. So I'm like, you must have done the flats on those. And
I did. I didn't know that Chip was going to do that. Put my name in there, and that was before like people in my family found out about it. So it's like there's some, and they're not entirely comfortable with that topic, but now it's fine. Now it's cool. So, but no, Chip is awesome, and I forever thank him for he's a great guy and he treats people like super awesome. So that was quite kind and generous of him to do that. So and that was great. It's been great working with him, and I learned a lot. And that's the thing with color flatting, you learn a lot from every artist, and you pick up different tricks that they do with whether it's inking or what their preferred color palette is. And everyone's got their own style, and it's like, oh, so there are certain guidelines, but you don't exactly have to follow them, right? So
cool. So you started that's how you got your start in comics, right? That was your first professional gig, was as a flatter?
Yeah. I was just a naive kid who wanted to work in comics badly. I was already working on a terrible webcomic just because to see if I could do it. And then I went to a comic event. I think it was TCAF. Yeah, it was TCAF. And I was just following some really bad advice. I just asked around if anyone was looking for an assistant, and I know how to use Photoshop, So one artist took me up on the offer. It was Andy Boulanger at the time. He used to
nice.
So he used to work at Raid back in the day, and then since then I stuck around at Raid, not as a member, but just in the background, like, oh hey, can you do flats, Becca? I'm like, sure. So that's how it started out. And then when I could, whenever the applications would come out for like Ben Expo, I would fill it out and be in the artist alley section of it. And I've managed to work my way up to getting a pro spot now. So it's
that's awesome.
Been an awesome journey.
Nice. So what's your background? Did you go to school in art? Are you self-taught? Like where did this passion start? Was it as a kid you were drawing comics, or like how did you get into sequential art?
As a kid, it was just something like my mom desperately wanted me to read. So, and I watched a lot of Saturday morning cartoons back then. So she's like, oh, look, there's Garfield. But then I gravitated towards Calvin and Hobbes. And then it just grew from there. And then from there, I read some Marvel comics, like I've got a Spider-Man issue here somewhere. And like, but then like I gravitated towards indie comics and manga. So so it started with like, I was really big on Gundam back in the day. So I started collecting Gundam, then went on to like Fullmetal Alchemist, and then got into the horror comics from there. So it's just exploring what's out there. And and I was just like, I could do this. Why not? How hard could it be? And I found out it was a lot of work. So
a lot of work,
a lot of work. But it was rewarding work. And you learn a lot. Even like now, I feel like there's still lots to learn and lots you have to adapt and evolve when you're working too, especially with today's technology, and and try to keep ahead of the trends a little bit, but also stay yourself. So it's a tricky balance to maintain all of that.
I know a lot of artists have like converted from like Photoshop to Procreate and stuff like that because Adobe adopted the subscription program instead of buying the program up front. Did you do the transition, or are you still running through Adobe like the Photoshop stuff, or do you use Procreate? Because I noticed you do a lot of your work digitally. I've seen some of your stuff. You work on a tablet or a screen or whatever.
I use Procreate mostly, but I still have Photoshop CS6 because I don't want to go to the subscription model. So there's some things with Adobe that I like, but at the same time, like Procreate is just so natural feeling. There's even though it's digital, it just feels it doesn't feel synthetic at all. It's like I have my drawings on there. It's still me, So it's quite nice. Where with Adobe before, I tried to draw digitally with it, but it just felt clunky and awkward, and And with that said, I still like to draw traditionally, with the commissions and that, I don't want to lose that part of
Cool.
Myself being an artist,
Say hi to Celine. She's in the chat. She's a fellow
hey.
punk rock flea market girl from Montreal.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah. She was on our show. What was it? A couple Fridays ago. We do the first of every month. We do a music episode where we just chat and talk about music. Yeah. So she was on last time. It was awesome. She was great. And
that's cool.
She designs t-shirts and stuff like that. Now she's starting to learn tattooing and stuff.
Oh, so, nice.
Super cool. Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah.
So nice to have you in the chats. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to meet you.
So you make your books digitally, but you obviously work traditionally as well, because when you go to conventions, I see a lot of the commissions you do at conventions.
That Scarlet Witch cover.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like I did that one Scarlet Witch at Toronto Comic Con, and then when I was at the Hero's Tale grand opening, it's a new shop that opened in Cambridge here. Then I got 2 Scarlet Witch covers dropped on my table. I'm like, oh, okay. So, I don't know. Just people really responded to that one, which surprised me, but it was really fun to do it. But the sketch covers, they're really fun to do, and then to experiment. Like I use watercolors, but I got these paint pens too, and they're just really. I don't know why I didn't know about them before or didn't think to use them before, but it's just so much fun. You can just
on the spot,
be as creative and messy, and people are like, "Woo!"
Yeah, it's awesome. It's quite a process to watch. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, it makes an experience for people, right? When they come to cons and stuff, instead of just selling stuff that's already done, to see someone in action and making something original for them, it's like. People appreciate it, and it must feel really good when you, especially that, when you do one on the fly and you just knock it out of the park, right? It just turns out better than you could ever imagine, and like you hand that over to someone. It must be such a great feeling.
It's one of the greatest feelings ever. What I love most about sketch covers are the weird ones that you can get. Like there's one guy, a regular. His name's Julian, and he's super cool. He's a horror nerd, like I am, like we are, and he will drop out covers like Alien or like Army of Darkness, Creepshow. I just can't wait to get my hands on them and start drawing on them. So eventually, I'm gonna get going with the Alien one. So I got.
Can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
So you take on a Xeno, because your monsters in Gehenna are gnarly. Pretty.
Thank you. So as much as disclaimer, I'm actually arachnophobic, so
okay.
Well,
your chair. I can draw what scares you. Isn't that what Clive Barker says, right?
So it was drawing that was therapeutic, but at the same time I'm like, okay, this is fine, it's fine, and I try to look up. As much as I hated it, I looked up anything spiders, like spider anatomy, a close shot to spiders, just to get and the different species of them, just to get like, how do I say it? It's like, sorry?
I was going to say, where does that originate from? Do you remember, like, is it something that happened as a child? Did you have a sibling that had a tarantula as a pet and tormented you with it? Or is it just like, you don't know, you were just always afraid of it? Or
I think it was a movie, and you're both going to laugh at this, but it's okay. It's like a 1953 movie. I could have the wrong year, but it's the right decade. It's Tarantula.
Okay.
So it's an old black and white movie. You could probably find it online. Anywhere, but
I think I know which movie you're talking about. They actually filmed an actual tarantula, and like it looked giant, and like that camera trick they use when I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
and if you take a look at it, there's a couple of shots where you can see like the tarantula leg is like this much above the ground, so it's not even, but no, it was that movie. I was 5 or 6 years old, and I think that traumatized me in forever. Spiders and I would not get along. So, awesome. And to this day, I still get spider nightmares. But when I was working on Gehenna, they stopped. Right. So
serious. So it was like therapy.
Yeah. So who knows? We may revisit Gehenna again in the future. We'll
Oh,
see.
that would be cool because I would like to see what happens with Max and the other characters. Like you kind of leave it really nice and open, kind of at the end of that, and kind of appreciated that. So I was going to ask if like that might be something you would revisit.
I think highly likely, because yeah, I've got a couple of directions where I can go with this story. Actually, there's one direction that's forming quite strongly with that. So stay tuned.
Right on, because that book is so much fun. I mean, it is a total blast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And it almost feels like it could be connected almost like in the same universe. The Wormhole.
To Wormhole Club. Yeah, they almost seem.
Yeah, it almost like there's threads there that seem like they could overlap or connect that in some way. Yeah.
Well, the code yellow that kind of pops up, it kind of threw me into Gehenna. I know it took place in a hospital, and like that's a normal code for there, but at the same time, it was a reoccurring theme between the two books. So I kind of appreciated that too. If you snuck that in.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed that. Actually, I'm super stoked to hear that. Yeah, because like with my family background, I have a couple of people who work in healthcare, so there's that influence that goes in with the, especially with the body horror part. That's a big influence there. Besides the movies and the comics, like Junji Ito comics, and been on an '80s horror kick lately too. Been going through David Cronenberg's old catalog, and
nice.
Yeah.
So. Another thing is, I know you got to know some actual content creators because you actually write them better than anybody else I've kind of seen in comics. You kind of actually nail the way they actually behave and the way they actually talk in their videos. So like that was really neat to see in Wormhole Club as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, just so with when I color flat, and that's like I'm happy to do the work, but at times it can be tedious, right? It's basically it's like you're doing a coloring book, but digitally, right? So you got to pass the time, you got to put on like a YouTube video or whatever in the background. So a lot of those influences went into Wormhole Club, and of course, like I love the true crime content that's on those platforms and with podcasts and everything. So that, of course, made its way in there. Especially, it seems like there's been an explosion of true crime content lately, whether it's like YouTube or Netflix has a plethora of their documentaries.
Yeah, people be loving their murder porn, that's for sure.
Yes, it's what it is. Exactly, it is murder porn.
My wife digs all that stuff too. She loves all the, like, anytime there's a new one on, she's like, oh, she gets all excited. I hope it's good.
Then, it is exciting. It's intriguing. You just see a dark side of human behavior, and it's like no one wants to. Of course, you can't explore it, but watching it, is the safest way to learn about it when you think of it, right?
Trying to understand too, like, why someone does this. That's trying to get into the human psyche, right? What drives a person? What are they born this way? Is it something traumatic happened to them? There's like so many different reasons why a person can follow this path, right? And some story, like, and a lot of the stories are so different. Like, that's what's so. There's no one path that leads to it. That's what's the most scary part. Like, it could be the most, just a series of just peculiar events to a normal person can just set them off and on a path that you'd never imagine.
That's what the scariest part about it is when you stop and listen to the stories, they're all just regular people that do this stuff. And you gotta make peace with that. That is the scariest part about true crime.
That is, because really, we're all people. We can be easily corrupted, right? That's
it. You never know what the future holds for you. Like, like some people, it depends what you value in life too. And when you lose those things, people, you never know how you react till you get into that situation. Some people rise to the occasion. Some people lets them beat them down and destroy them. And, like, it's crazy. Like, to think you may think you're tough mentally till you get into that situation. Then you see where you're at mentally. Like, you don't know. You can hypothesize what the type of person you'd be in that situation, but you never know till you're actually in.
Yeah, I think that's true with every human here on this planet. You never know until you're in that situation, and you may surprise yourself, or, and that's the challenge with Wormhole Club. Without giving anything away, the one character, it's been quite a challenge writing about said character, and you're like trying to think what makes this, person tick. Like, I've got a whole outline for their background and everything, and and you're just like, do I really want to go that dark and try to empathize with this character?
Yeah.
But then you have to, right?
Yeah.
So it's,
if you want to make it scary, you're gonna have to go there to that scary place.
Yes, precisely.
So, for people that may not have checked it out or know, like, basically, how would you basically outline Wormhole Club Tragedy and where it's at right now, story wise?
Okay, so the elevator pitch, admittedly, I struggle with it because there's so many layers with it. But basically,
there's a lot of lore in this book. There's a lot going on in it, and that's what's really neat about it as well.
So it starts out with a spontaneous combustion, and people think it's a murder. Other people think it's an accident. There is a police investigation, but it's going nowhere. There is a body outside of the popular nightclub, the Wormhole Club. And there have been some sightings of a certain individual. The internet has called her Forticia Vortex, but this is not the first sighting of her. She's been seen in other mysterious deaths situations. So I guess the best way to describe her, she'd be kind of a creepypasta-ish entity. So one of the witnesses there was a firefighter who sees this entity, Forticia, and he's seeing his psychologist, Matteo Meyer. And Matteo is trying to solve this mystery on his own. And so he's going down the rabbit hole, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, and just uncovering the mystery. And it's beginning to hit a little too close to home for him,
Because he's got some sad stuff in his past, so
he may have more in common with this entity than he realizes, right? Yeah.
In the first few scenes, I've noticed in the backgrounds, I noticed it almost looks like you drew some friends in there, almost like just the features of it almost looks like you drew some people you knew in the crowd in the first few scenes. Did you invent those faces, or because they seem very peculiar, like their look seems very specific? So
like someone you know, right?
Yeah, exactly. It almost looks like
that's the highest compliment you can give me. Thank you. So you got to have that real life feel to it, right? Even though it's a comic book, right? So even as a kid, I tend to be really good with faces and expressions. So I tend to spend the most time on that feature of the human body compared to everything else. So, but over the years, I've gotten better with human anatomy, but faces have been my specialty. So, some of those faces, admittedly, they could be from some band photos I look at online, or I go to, quite a few shows back in the day where I live in Kitchener. There was Koi Fest. So that was it used to be a yearly thing, and there used to be shows at different venues all over the place downtown. So they, look like people I'd see downtown pretty much. So I just want this comic to feel like it could take place anywhere, but I kind of loosely based it where I live and where I have lived in the past.
And is the restaurant an actual restaurant where you live, or?
Sorry?
Nija's is the restaurant. Was it Nija's? Is that an actual restaurant where you live, or is that? I just saw it. I just kept, for some reason, I kept thinking you were putting these little things in from.
No, it's kind of a made up place, but it's really like two places in one.
Okay.
Yeah. So the one place unfortunately closed down because COVID, affecting businesses and that. But it was really two places meshed into one place. So
because if ever I'm going through, I'm like, oh, if that's a real place, I want to stop there because I saw it in the comic, right?
Yeah.
That's some free Turkish delight, man.
That's it.
That The second place I based it off of, their Turkish Delight was amazing, but that was the place that closed down, unfortunately. But in that location, though, there is a restaurant there, so and there's some cool places there. I think there's a record store there, but I need to double check that. Because it's been a while, but
that was the first little reveal, the little of the character was when he's brought the Turkish Delight. I like the way you played that one off too. It was, I want a Turkish Delight too. Why are you the only one? Don't break the news. I thought that whole interaction was funny. I love that. That was great. I love those little like scenes like that. It brings that little human element to the story instead of it always being like this big sci-fi, like bigger than life story. It brings you in and creates a more intimate story, because you create these little moments that everyone has within their group of friends, right? And it really pulls you into the story. I find these like just little bits like that put in here and there throughout the story, and that's a great little touch. I love those type of little touches in books, and you nailed that scene perfectly on when they go out for lunch.
Well, thanks, man. That's a huge compliment too. So that was one challenge I had when working with Gehenna, because that felt like, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to make it like that story as you described, like a bigger, like larger than life sci-fi horror thing. But I'm like, I just want to keep it down to earth as much as possible, because you want, as fantastical as the story can get, you want it to be down to earth and relatable to the reader as possible, right? So that can be a tricky thing to work with. So
because you want to make sure you keep them hooked, right? So
exactly. Or they, the comments I get from people, and especially with there's like one part in Gehenna that I've heard a couple times from people, and it's the scene like towards the end about like a relationship that went bad. Like, oh, by the way, they I don't want to say too much I don't want to spoil the story, but it's like, oh, really? Was that part you found funny? Because there's who has not been in that conversation or listened in on that conversation,
right?
Like the manipulation among friends and stuff like that.
Well, I thought it was neat the way you like worked in the friend dynamics. Like you always thought that the one kind of vacuous girl was the worst friend, but you end up finding out Marcy, the one that pretended to be nice, was actually the shittiest one. I thought that was all played very well. I mean, made you kind of give a shit about the characters. You know what I mean? Which you kind of don't get with a lot of horror comics about dumbasses that go to places where they're not supposed to and get chased by creepy crawlies,
and it's too like it's almost tragic that it took this event for the two to talk to like, and that's really it. Like if people would just sit down and talk to each other, and get the real story from the horse's mouth instead of relying on secondhand information or get to the root of the problem. Don't rely on other people's opinions and views about someone else. Like if you want to know someone, you more than likely you're going to have to talk to them yourself, or make your own views of that person instead of basing it on other people's maybe maybe not very objective views of people or prejudices towards other people. So
it's best to be direct and confront someone head on, but a lot of people don't learn that, right? So,
and it's less and less now with social media, the way people interact now. People have a harder time with that, because people consider it conflict, but it's not
like
really
one
conflict.
Disagreement and you're dropped now.
Like mute or block, or people have lost the skill to resolve issues anymore. Like we don't agree, and okay, so we mute or block each other, and it ends there. So you never come to any kind of resolution with conflict. Like the conflict is always there, and then it just stops, but the conflict was never resolved, right? And it's just a series like that now and social media, I think, is a huge catalyst and kind of destroying the way we communicate and try to resolve and come to resolution or even compromises. Like the world's become a place where people are unwilling to compromise on anything anymore, whether it's on one side or the other, and it's it's created such a huge divide now, and I don't know. I think people need to get off social media to take a break once in a while and get a little, objective view on, like, go out and actually do something instead of living on social media. Get out and actually live life in the present, in the real, like.
Yeah. Or it's one idea I've thought of, people, because social media, in my mind, it's still kind of a relatively new thing. Like, whenever there's been a new communication device, whether it's been the telephone or the radio or TV, there's always like, it goes through a dark period where that communication breakthrough, there's bad actors play in, there's propaganda, there's people that there's a division, and then somehow people will figure it out and be like, okay, how can we work with this technology, which has good and bad parts with it.
Yeah.
But, educate people, like, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, or talk to people. This is not how you have a discussion. And like, it's an interesting conversation to have, and it's an evolving one, because like on one hand, like social media, for me anyway, it's been a great help with my indie work, because without it, I don't know, would it be the Yellow Pages? I don't know.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like how you can get and broadcast yourself. But then there is that dark side to it where people can just be awful because you've got a screen protecting you. But it's people wouldn't dare say that to your face, right?
Very few.
Yeah. So I hope with like the past breakthroughs before, that people, like the next generation coming up, will figure out, well, this is how you should present yourself online. This is how you should treat people online, and hopefully things get better, and learn from past mistakes. And
I think there's a key word you used in there is education.
Education, yes.
I don't think there's enough education. There's a lot of like fighting, but people aren't listening to other people's side and being okay. I hear that, but this is, and kind of having that dialogue back and forth where like I had a conversation with Johnny before one time after we did an episode. I was like, you may disagree with someone and you're going to have an argument. And I said, as long as you finish that conversation, as long as it stays civil, obviously someone has an opposing, your initial reaction is going to be to defend your point of view.
Yeah.
But I said, after you walk away from that conversation, each person, I said, it's going to stay in the back of your mind. You're going to think about it. And sometimes change doesn't come from that one specific interaction. It comes from several.
Yeah.
Over time, like it's rare you're going to change someone from one interaction. And I find that's where kind of the dialogue gets lost, or the idea gets lost on social media, because they want an instant, like, you're right, I'm wrong. They want you right away, but it doesn't work that way in life.
Yeah.
It's a series of small things that'll you plant the seed, right? And it grows like, and that's the way it is. Cause I mean, I've gotten into arguments with people and then I've kind of mulled it over after, and you're like, okay, I can kind of see where they're coming from. And then you build that bridge, right? Where maybe you can come to a resolution, right? Where you both can agree on something, but it's getting harder and harder to do that.
Yeah. And then like, I just think about with my background, because I come from such a conservative background, and I was alive in the time, like it was past its peak, but I grew up around the tail end of the Satanic Panic era. So like this would be the people, for those who don't know, like the people who were part of that outrage, they're the people who would be the conservatives of today, or whatever. Like just there's a lot of stupid ideas being passed around back then, but then we've learned now, like, oh wow, that was a stupid time period. What were people afraid of? And it was all started by a couple of con men, or if you go back in the history of learning about that time period, the Satanic Panic, that gets touched upon like season 5 of Stranger Things. I was so happy when they got to that topic on there, because it's like, just like people were that dumb back then, but we didn't have the internet. It was by other means. It was TV that was bad, and you shouldn't be let your kids watch this much stuff or any violent or movies or music, and that's all bad. It just evolves into whatever the next thing is, right? So and I remember one of the books that my parents' church used. I found it online, and it was even worse than I remembered it. It was poorly researched. That was back when information was slower to access, and there was even like Nazi propaganda in that book, which was shocking to me. And I'm like, no one even bothered to like double check like this was harmful material and harmful, incorrect information that was in this community church or whatever, or evangelical church. But like, it's, I don't know what the solution is. I just think that things will continue to evolve. And I just hope, again, that there will be education going forward, that we learn from this, and that,
exactly.
Teach the kids, like, because it helps down the road for sure.
Yeah. I have some conservative people in my family too. I come from from the country and stuff. So like I have cousins and stuff where they have more conservative views, and like I don't disown them because they don't have the exact same views as me. We often have, it can become heated at times, conversations, but I mean, they're not bad people for having that view. They were just raised a certain way, and anytime I need help, they're there to help me without question, without they have good values like at their core. It's just, you got to have these conversations to try to let them see the other side and understand where the other side's coming from. And you can't close the door to that, because when you do, you lose people instead of trying to gain people to, for a common good anyway. So
definitely do not cut those people out, because as you say, like, you learn from each other, right?
And, I mean, there's always lost causes, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some people that aren't even worth taking the time, but these are all learned behaviors, right? That not we're not born with like hatred or prejudice in our hearts. It's something that's taught, whether knowingly or unknowingly, as a child being raised, and and it's just behaviors that you have to bring to light and explain them in a way that a person can understand and comprehend and sympathize and empathize with,
because like 9 times out of 10, at least with my experience, like people's prejudice, their prejudiced way of thinking, it's based on fear and misinformation. Even back in the 80s and 90s, just it's always been a thing. It's like, no, just go out into the real world and see for yourself.
And that's it. Sometimes you have to understand where that person's coming from to be able to reach them, right? Because like you said, that fear, it's this fear, where did that come from? And unless you have the conversation with that person, you'll never figure it out and be able to reach them or come to common ground. So and I mean, hopefully we'll get there one day.
I don't know. Can we get to Star Trek someday? I don't know.
Hopefully your friends won't make you cross a fence and get bit by some spider creature and make you turn out like poor Max.
Oh, fuck. Well, I mean, Boris turned out okay.
Boris ended up a giant though, man. Like, he had it going on. Wait, wrong picture.
Aw, good boy, Boris.
And with Max on his shoulder, I love that shot. That's so cool.
Yeah. So I wish I had the spider figurine, but that pose was the artist Amanda Daly used that pose to compose the 3D sculpt, but hopefully I'll have it here someday. My friend Martin is trying to make a new one with some new resin material he's got. It looked really cool, but anyway, that's for another time.
What was the name you said of the that was a great name, Duncan, what was it?
Oh, Martin Slam Duncan is what he
Martin Slam Duncan. Yeah, that's great. I love that name. Slam Duncan.
So he's the guy who he runs the Dracula Vision project, and he's running Frankenstein Visions that's coming out on Kickstarter later this year. So it's basically a coffee table art book with illustrations from the books Dracula and Frankenstein, and they're just quotes that the artist is assigned, and we just draw something based on that quote. So stay tuned for more info on that one. But Martin also runs a show called Sketchelmania. So that's where the Slam Duncan comes from. So it's like a WWE themed sketch battle, basically.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
And and then like the drawings that are done that night, they go for charity.
Oh, that's super cool then. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. So that's Martin Slam Duncan. That's what he's known online. So
yeah, I think I've seen you post a few things when you went to those like draw offs or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. The Sketchelmanias or what I guess that's what they're called. I don't know. They're just but they're super fun and they're super cool. So yeah.
Does he do that regularly every month, or is that like
I think he's trying to do them on a monthly basis. Okay. So he took a bit of a break, but he's just got back on it. And then there was like, whether it's a live stream or sometimes there'll be a panel at a Comic-Con event. So,
okay.
Yeah. And well, based cool. on, and there's a different theme for every one.
Every episode. Yeah.
Yeah. With a rotating
guests.
Roster of guests. Yeah.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like we said earlier, you're definitely influenced a lot by music. You like you like your heavier music, and
yes,
which comes to the T-shirt, man. You designed a T-shirt for a band.
Yeah, for Bad Egg.
I picked that up. That's your design on the T-shirt there.
Yep,
a bunch of chickens. Yeah,
chickens. Yeah. Shout out to Stacy, the lead vocalist of the band. Thank you so much for the job. But like, so it was their 5th anniversary show in March. So she reached out and was like, "Hey, we're just looking for someone to design our 5th anniversary T-shirts." She also runs the KW Punk Rock Flea Market. There's going to be another one coming out soon in the summer, July, I think. But more deets will be posted once I know more. But so this was that was the concept she had, or one of the concepts, and I'm like, let me draw that for you. So it was just so fun to make something, like I get to draw animals, I get to draw cyborg, sci-fi.
Yeah, it's a great. I saw that design, I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. And then they posted that they had a few left from the show, so I reached out.
Yeah, they're sold out now, so the T-shirts they're gone now.
Yeah. I think there was like one. I got one. There was one extra large left, and I think maybe a small. Yeah, so
they sold
them all. Yeah,
they sold them all. So yeah. So that was fun. Oh, thank you, Pew. So hopefully I'll get to do more. I'm in talks with another band right now, but more info will come out once that's ready. So but this was super cool. So as well as Comic-Cons, I'll go to the punk rock flea markets just because it's fun and it's more of a low-key kind of more weirdly relaxed event, even though it's like there's live music and it's very punk rock, the whole setting and everything.
Yeah.
So lately for shows, I've just been whatever I see at the punk rock flea market, and there's a focus on local talents and like bands from like where I live or in the Toronto area, but usually different kinds of genres, indie related. But it's super cool. And there's like different kinds of flea markets too, like Hamilton and Toronto. Toronto just started up again, but like each one is different. Of course, has their own flavor. So
yeah. That's cool. So, I know your publisher name of your book here is Psychotic, but
oh yes,
I like the way you wrote it. What's the? Is that? How did you come up with that? Is there any?
I think it was my sister who came up with it. Like she was, what was it in university? She was taking, was it Hebrew or something? I don't remember very well, but it was different spelling. And she's like, "Oh, look, you can spell psychotic like this." And I'm like, "That is so cool." This was like years and years ago. And and I just thought like for the books, I'm like, let's just put psychotic on there. I was thinking of TMNT and the Mirage label,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I thought similar concept with psychotic. So yeah.
Well, it fits a theme, like with your horror stuff, and
exactly.
it's pretty cool. I dig that big time.
Yeah.
It sticks out, right? You're like, at first I'm like, oh, what is that? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it.
Psychotic, yeah. Yeah, I've had some, like, it's usually people are like, what does that say? I'm like, oh, it's psychotic, just yeah. But I'm like, I'm just keeping it like that just because it's fun, and it catches people's attention, even though they don't know how to pronounce it at first. But yeah,
at first, yeah.
Well,
if you're like, okay, there's like the two, whatever the apostrophe on top of the I or whatever it is, yeah. So you're like, okay, so you got to pronounce like don't say it out how you'd normally, like, it's not sick, right? It's so that's cool. I dug that. So you have a lot of your stuff that isn't, well, is everything still available on your site? Because it's thebecka.com, right?
Yeah, it's thebecka.com, and my shop is thebecka.com/shop, and you can find all my books there. I've got some art prints as well. I'm hoping to get rid of some of them, so I may post a sale soon, just so I can get some new product in there. But yeah, that's where basically my store is, and I have 4 physical brick and mortar shops. So if you're in like the Kitchener GTA area, I have Gehenna and Wormhole Club at shops like Studio Comics Press, Hero's Tale, Gotham Central.
Oh, Gotham, yeah. Okay. I've been there. I visited that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's
and
awesome.
Great shop. Yeah, nice shop. Yeah.
Very nice shop. And the Dragon has Gehenna. So I'm working to get the books in more shops this year. So yeah.
I found this in your gallery. Do you have a print of this guy? Because I really love this piece, Mercury. That is so cool.
Thank you. So there's supposed to be more from that series. With everything going on, I just haven't had the time. So I'm working on Venus right now. So
are you going to do the whole solar system? That's cool.
Yep. In that similar style of
creepy characters, kind of elder goddish, but like doing your own thing with it. And I'm really happy you're doing that as well, because I've noticed ever since it's gone into the public domain, so many people just rely on just copying Lovecraft when they're doing cosmic horror, but like not you really. Like you're doing like,
you have your own flavor for sure.
Like, almost like what Barker did in the 80s, with Hellraiser and stuff like that. He didn't try to copy Lovecraft. He made his and like that's kind of what you're doing with Wormhole and with your kind of with your, what's her name again?
Vorticia,
yeah. Like such a rad creature.
Thank you. I could take the easy route and just do like what exists out there, but I just wouldn't be happy doing that. And especially like my brain is so full all the time with images, it's got to come out in some way. So
I appreciate it. I mean, your monster design is gnarly. I love all the creatures like I've seen so far from because I've read what was the one you did with Bob Sally?
Beholden.
I read Gehenna and Wormhole, and like I just love the designs. They're just so menacing, but I mean, almost got a Mignola type thing, but like you're even doing your own thing away from that. I just appreciate, like, you really got your own kind of creature designs. That's so cool when a creator does that.
Well, thank you. I hope to post more info about the Beholden with Bob Sally down the road. So just with everything, like COVID has really there was a lot going on. COVID happened, and then some things had to take a backseat for a bit. But stay tuned with more things to come, because I would like to keep going with Beholden, because we've got like some stuff planned for that one. And
I really like Lupe. She reminds me of so many of my friends' moms growing up. I'm a California boy, so
I will tell Bob that. Yeah, she's such a fun character. I would hate to leave that story behind. So So
another thing that influences your work a lot is not just music like punk and hardcore and all that, is you touched on it earlier, is the horror genre itself, like movies. So like, what are some of your favorite movies that maybe have influenced you growing up creatively and just for ideas and
Oh boy. So in my head, I've got a rotating list of movies. So like every once in a while, I'll come across with weird obsessions. That's the best way I can describe it. So one obsession right now is Mandy, the 2018 Nicolas Cage movie. Just everything about it. I just love the atmosphere with it.
Cheddar Goblin.
Yes, I was actually looking for those T-shirts. I'm just like, oh, I want a Cheddar Goblin T-shirt so badly. Yeah. Let's see. I got Shudder too, so I've been going through that catalog and just going through the old. I can never pronounce the genre correctly, but the Italian horror films.
Giallo.
Yes. Especially like movies like The Beyond. It's just so creepy, and the suspense and the buildup is so perfect in my mind. It's so well done, and the contrasting light and shadows, and just you're watching nightmares, right? So and our new school stuff. Yes, Mandy is amazing. New school. I finally saw The Black Phone, and I need to watch that one again. There were some things I really liked about that one. That one was fun, and there's just so many great movies. Like, Exorcist 3. Like, I love The Exorcist. Like,
a lot of people love
Part 3.
Part 3. So many people love that movie.
Creepy. Yeah. It is so creepy, especially for those of you who haven't seen it. Just go watch it. There's one scene that just I can't stop thinking about it. It just comes out of nowhere. Like you're expecting something, and then you're like, and then it, and then your imagination is going nuts. So it's just, I could go on and on, but I don't want to like go over the running time. So,
oh well, I mean,
so much.
The running time is just like
an estimate.
An estimate, yeah. So I mean, if there's anything you really want to like people should absolutely go see or watch, or feel free.
Yeah, and then I've also recently discovered Tubi, so they have like
their
horror movie. I just watched Sleepaway Camp for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, what? How did this get made? But it's one of those movies where it's like, oh man, but I've been watching it over and over again just because it's so. What is this?
Yeah. It's something. And that reveal at the end is just fantastic. Like, just the facial expression. It's like, what the hell? Like, I don't know. It's just it just makes the movie.
And then there's things with it like the baseball game scene. It's like, okay, they're all right, but then it's like it's adorable. Weirdly enough, I don't know what it is. It's just everything about it. Like if you're into that kind of those kind of movies, just go watch it.
Tubi's such a great platform. I mean, I think I enjoy Tubi's selection more than Shudder, to be honest. There's so much on there. It's crazy.
Yeah. Like I also recently watched The Stuff because because Martin's making a 3D print of the Stuff container. But I'm not sure what process he's at currently, like if he's going to paint it or make stickers for it. But yeah.
And one thing I love about Tubi is I usually go right away to the leaving soon section. There's always things I'm like, I'll watch it when I have time, so I'll go down there and I'll be like, okay, what's leaving soon? Okay, I got to make sure I watch this like this week or within the next couple weeks because it won't be there. So I love that section where you go hit stuff there. Yeah.
Willy's Wonderland. Yep. Seen that. That's I would also recommend
that's great.
that one.
We did an episode on that one. Yeah.
Do you like Deadly Friend by Wes Craven? That's one we watched recently. It's probably one of the most fun, just ridiculous horror movies ever made.
Oh man. I gotta check that one out for sure.
Yeah, I saw that when I was a kid. My sister she worked at this convenience store that had a video section. So at the end of each shift, she'd always bring she's about 6 years older than me. So she'd bring back all these movies. And she was maybe 16 when she worked there, and I was 10. So she'd bring back all these. So I saw April Fools, I think I saw back then when I was 10.
Oh man.
Just Friends. She brought back all kinds of stuff, and like that's how I got a lot of my early horror movies in, was through my sister from working at that convenience store. Yeah,
it's always the older sibling or cousin that's the gateway. For me, it was one of my cousins, so it was yeah.
Some of the old, like April Fools, I remember as a kid I was like, what? Then the big twist at the end, I was like, oh my god, that's like, it just blew my mind as a kid.
So many people hate that though. Like there are people like legitimately despise that movie, and I'm like, it's dumb, but like nobody really did it before that. So
yeah. I think there was an episode, like I was going through Eli Roth's History of Horror, and there was an episode on holiday horror, and there's a section where they talk about April Fools and just how it's kind of not appreciated for, they acknowledge, people who don't like the ending, but then they're like, no, but that's the point of the movie. I mean, again, I don't want to give away spoilers for those who hasn't seen it, but if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I forgot Black Christmas, the OG Black Christmas.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah. I used that one as inspiration for issue 2 of Wormhole Club, just because the challenge for this one was like it's set kind of during the holiday season for Wormhole Club 2, but I didn't want it to be a Christmas story, know?
Yeah.
So where Black Christmas, I feel like I could watch that at any time of the year, just you can look at it as a Christmas movie, but it doesn't have to be a Christmas movie. It's a slasher movie, Which with the setting,
Yeah, kind of. That's what Gremlins is for me.
Yeah.
It's like a Christmas like horror movie, right? That it definitely, as a kid, that one was always I have to watch it every year at Christmas. For sure.
Yeah. Gremlins is awesome.
Yeah, it's just the right, perfect, like camp and everything, and and as a little kid, you watch that. It's just scary enough, but not too much to like traumatize you at a young age. It's a good gateway, like horror movie, to get into more serious, like traumatizing subject matter.
You gotta get into the cute, cuddly, horrific little critters in there. The Gremlins.
Critters is another one.
Critters.
Critters is a great one. I love that. Oh, that was the first 2 were good, and after that, it probably But I like even Gremlins. It starts like, okay, Gizmo, then boop boop, then they're kind of cute but mean. Then it slowly graduates you to like the scarier parts, right? It's
like as soon as you go in the kitchen scene, and you're like, oh, they did that, and you're either horrified or you're just kind of laughing it off just because you're uncomfortable, but you want to see more of it, right? You can't just leave it off on that note,
The part that I can't believe they got away with is the bar scene where like that's when that's where they slip in like all the really kind of almost crude stuff that like when you're older and you watch it, you're like, whoa, that's pretty. I didn't realize that when I was a kid.
Yeah, but like when you're a kid, that stuff goes over your head mostly. But so it's like the kind of thing where as an adult you see the obvious, but the kids, they're like, there's everything else going on. You don't notice what the adults are noticing. At least that's what
the flasher gremlin. I didn't get that when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah.
Oh man.
Or even like kids movies, like Disney used to be great at it, like Aladdin. There were so many adult jokes in there, but and I don't think you'll ever see that from Disney ever again. Those types.
Sadly, no. At least for now. Who knows? Things always cycle back to.
So you kind of nailed that a little bit in your book, Gehenna. I'd say Boris was a rather adorable creature. Kind of started off scary. Kind of was the reverse of Gremlins.
Yeah.
Actually, with Boris, I did base the character design a little bit on my dog, just to offset the spider imagery stuff.
Okay.
I'm just like,
it's those sad eyes, right? The puppy dog eyes.
Yeah, because like my dog, she's a Labradoodle, so she's got kind of like a triangular shadow thing going on when her eyebrows are fully grown in. So I took that and just put it on his eyes. So it wasn't, at first I was really struggling with looking at those spider pictures and the close-ups, and something about the spider hair. It's always unsettling. I don't know what it is, but it's, got to be committed to the monster design. So
yeah, because you did touch on that in your back matter about the Boris's design with your dog and stuff. Yeah, I'd read that in the back matter. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
And it does come off like his facial expressions and stuff, because it's very dark in the beginning, right? So you don't really. Then when you get him into the light and brightness, there's like this kindness in his features. Like he looks like a spider, but he's got this kindness to him in the features and his expressions, right? Where he looks menacing, but when you the close up in his, like, you capture it well, where you see he's got that kindness in him. Where
and the space demon scene with Max.
Thank you. It was difficult to capture that, just because with creatures like that, like spiders or insects, they have exoskeletons, so they're not known to have expressions, right? So it's just how to convey that body language when you have such limited things to work with on the physique, So,
and also, like, humans, you pick on features, right? Where like expressions, where, like you say, a spider, how so you try to interpret how a person, like, sad, happy, how do you interpret that into the face so it still looks like a spider without it, like, losing, like, so I can see how that's a challenge, for sure.
So well,
But
I'm glad
you nailed it for sure, though.
Thank you. Just happy I'm happier then. Sorry.
Also really like the arachnid SWAT masks that the soldier guys wore. That was a really, really neat design you did for that.
Yeah, thank you. It was really designing those masks at first, the rough sketches, it was really tricky. I'm just thinking, like, what hasn't been done before? And I was thinking, Slipknot, if Slipknot can make new masks for every album cycle, it's got to be possible, right? So that was a little bit of musical inspiration from there. So I just, like, everything's spider themed, arachnid themed. Why not just keep it consistent that way,
Yeah, it was cool. Kind of give it a Roger Corman feel. I liked it.
Yeah.
That's I love both books, and can't wait to read the continuation of the Wormhole Tragedy. Definitely, I think you stepped up the body horror quite a bit in the Wormhole, for sure. Like,
I'm relieved to hear that. So
I enjoyed it in Death Valley to get, but man, Wormhole, woo! You brought it to another level, and it's great. I love it, and I'm interested to see how you're going to incorporate the color into those scenes.
Oh,
like, when you say you're going to do the color and stuff, it'll be interesting. I can't wait to see. Like, you can kind of get a hint from the colored pages you threw in, the color palette you're going to go with, which I'm digging.
Yeah.
So
I've got it. I've got it in here. So
up there, So man, kudos on that. Like, those, I love it. And the way the hair, the design for the hair when it starts, I love those panels too. That's great. I love how it starts and all of a sudden that creates. I love that.
Yeah, it's really fun to draw the hair like that. And then I'm thinking, like, again, with reading a lot of manga horror, like whether it's Junji Ito or the mangaka, I can't think of what his name is, and unfortunately I forget what the manga is called. But anyway, I'm trying to get my hands on it, but it's like, it has the word radio in the English title, but the designs in that are really creepy. And I love in Japanese horror, like, how hair is really used as a vehicle for that. And hair is disgusting. It can be really disgusting. So it's like, why not?
Do you listen to Rotworm? Is that it, Johnny?
Yeah.
Wormrot?
Wormrot, man.
They're sick.
Have you checked out his art? The singer?
I need to check it out more. Like, I always dig the album covers when they.
Oh, but he's just focusing on illustration now.
Okay.
So go, if you find him on Instagram, man. If you like that Japanese type, he channels that stuff. You'll dig his art. He's got some cool stuff. Yeah.
He did the cover for one of our homies' books, Dylan Corbuser, who did Metalhead Samurai.
Oh, nice.
He did one of the variant covers for it. Yeah.
Okay, okay, I'm writing this down. So
what's his, is it Angelo? No. Ref? Ah, shit.
I'll see if
I can't remember his name now. But his stuff is fantastic. He's been doing art books more than anything right now, working on, he does a few live streams here and there, but if you dig that stuff, you should go check his stuff out. He's a fun follow on Instagram. Right. He posts his stuff on Instagram and shares stuff, and
I'm always looking for new horror people to follow. So yeah, thanks for the tip.
Yeah. I think he's under Rotwork, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Rotwork is on Instagram.
It's his name with Rotwork with an underscore, and I can't remember what his first name is.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look him up for sure.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah, because he definitely tunes into that like Junji Ito Japanese horror vibe to his stuff. So a lot of little details too. Like he must go insane. Some of the stuff he draws, like how much time and detail he puts into it. It's cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I'm really happy to hear what you said about the body horror in issue 2, because like at one point while I was working on it, I was really worried. I'm like, oh, is there enough of it in here? And then by the time I got to like certain pages, and I'm like, okay, we're good, we're covered.
I think so. Because if it's too much, it's not as much of an impact once you get to it. So I think you're just right. Like you get it, and then especially that turn page, right? Then you're like, you see it, and you're like, oh, it's so good. It's such a good turn page when you get to it. You know it's coming, right? Because you had one snippet before, so when you get to the other one where you know it's coming because it's the same pattern, right? So you know it's coming. You get that turn page, just then you get to see it. It's like a treat, you know.
Yes.
Yeah,
I find the book paced very well. I like the way it kind of changes between interactions to actually discovery of what's going on to like more funny interactions. You get great characters. Like the friend group is hilarious in the book. I really like the influencer friend and his bath bomb.
His bath bomb videos. Do you actually have a friend that does that?
Actually, I do have a friend, and he was talking about it, possibly doing it at one point, and I'm like, I'm putting this down for one of my characters. I told him I was doing this. He's like, oh, okay, go for it. He's like, are you drawing like me? And I'm like, no. But I thought for the potential Kickstarter, I'm hoping it would. I can't promise anything, but I hope it works out. For one of the rewards, I would love to get a bath bomb made.
Yes.
Like the vortex bomb. I'm like, I think that would be the coolest thing ever, because I don't know if you guys heard of corpse paint soaps. I don't know if I got that right. But yeah, it's this artist from Finland. I forget what her name is, but she makes soaps, not bath bombs, but they're black metal
inspired soap.
Yeah. Awesome. So you got Abyss, and you've got the Ghost, and you've got like Beelzebub, or the cartoon character.
But yeah,
I actually bought one of them, and it was one of the best purchases I ever made. So because it smelled so nice. It was like the black in it was charcoal and whatever, but it was let me see if I can find it.
That's cool.
I think it's corpse paint soaps. But anyway, that's where I got the idea from.
That's fun, like original, different, like instead of like stickers, bookmarks and stuff, you find like an original idea as stretch goals and stuff like that. It makes it interesting, right?
Yeah. So I just put the link sent you the link there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
that's cool. Yeah, that's always fun and interesting when people come up with like these funny like stretch goal things. Like it makes it it makes it fun, because like, and it's normal that people do like the bookmarks and the stickers because you're dealing with printers already, right? So and you have your distributors for that, so it's just normal you put that as a stretch goal. And stickers are fun because people can stick them on their things to represent, so it's always good. Another thing I love too is patches.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to get patches made someday.
You
That
know,
would be
yeah.
so cool.
You know, you could put it on your jacket, or like pins are always fun too. Like,
yeah,
pins are fun, but
The one I don't get is the collector coins. Like Magnetic
I don't
Press
get
always
that.
gives out the little coins, man. I'm like, am I
Yeah.
a pirate? Do I want the doubloon?
Honestly, I don't get it either, but I mean they're popular, but I'm like, why? You know, it's not a patch, it's not a bath bomb or soap. I don't know. I'm just thinking of things I would like for myself. Oh, one of my friends, Shane Heron, he's he makes comics, Morris Comics, and he's part of the Cauldron magazine group. But
Okay.
anyway, for one of his campaign, I think it was the Morris Kickstarter campaign. One of his rewards was pie because he's a chef. So he
would ship pie out to people?
Only for locals.
Yeah.
Okay.
People.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
So,
that's quite the undertaking. I mean,
well, there's laws against shipping food like
across the border. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
and
I mean,
then
within Canada you're fine, or within wherever he is.
Yeah,
within country you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was only for local selection only. Like, here, you can get a pie, you know. And here's all the flavors you can select. And then there was like for one of the Cauldron campaigns, hot sauce was one of them. Again, a local
that's cool
thing. So
that's
it was
cool.
You know, just thinking outside of the box like that. I'm like, that's really cool. You know, it's just
we tried to convince one of our other buddies to ship sausages with his comics. or go get them, hang his comics at a Polish butcher, or no, and have his comics smoked, like so they smell like smoked meat. We were joking with him and stuff. Yeah, so he didn't do it. He thought of it, but he didn't end up doing it.
Can you imagine the pictures for the social media campaign? That would be hilarious. I think that would be
hanging in a smoke fridge. Yeah,
and you just have some meats placed there, smoked meat there, like for the aesthetics, and then randomly there's your book, you know. Just
there's just it's fun when people get creative and just a little crazy with their stuff, you know. It's kind of you know.
So do you have an idea how the vortex bomb would be scented? Like, any ideas?
I don't know, like I like bergamot, the smell, like the citrusy kind of smell, but then it could also work with I don't know, fruity flavors. It's either citry or fruity, because the fruity part, I think you could add different colors, like a funfetti kind of thing inside the vortex bomb to mix in with the black and the white swirl, because it's, you know, when you think of space and cosmic,
you got the black background with the different colors, lights.
Yeah, and then you think of nebulas and stuff like that, like, you know, throw some color to pop in there. But like the primary would be the white and black with the, I don't know how it would work. I would have to find somebody who could make bath bombs to make it work. But I would need to do more research with that. But I know, like, was it Toronto Comic Con or Fan Expo? But there was somebody there who was selling bath bombs. And,
oh yeah.
So I'm like, maybe I could commission that person to make some bath bombs. I don't know. I'll find out eventually. There's a way, you know, and that's the fun thing to do it. Like you can make your stuff DIY, you know, you can just get as creative as you want without someone saying, no, you can't do this. And I mean, there are times when you have to limit yourself budget wise, but at the same time,
because you can get too crazy and you're doing stuff for nothing sometimes, even though it's fun in the moment, you know, you're super hyped about it, but at the end of the day, you still have to,
it has to make sense, right?
So exactly. It has to be viable, you know?
Yeah. Like the pie idea, I think, is amazing, but it was smart for Shane to keep it, you know, it has to
local.
Be local.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine shipping, holy moly, if you're shipping like pies worldwide, you'd have to almost get like boxes made for individual to like pack like the shape of individual pies, you know, and send it out.
Doesn't get squished, and I don't know how that would.
Yeah,
have to refrigerate them somehow too, I think.
Well, a lot of pies, because of I think all the sugar and everything in it, I think it has a pretty decent shelf life if it's not in the fridge.
Yeah, it can be if you have the right amount of preservatives in it or something. But
I ain't gonna trust it. It'd be like that pink sauce, man.
Anyway, so yeah, man, it was great having you on. Such a blast talking to you. I right away I was like, I knew this was going to be a fun episode just from the stuff you post on Instagram, the stuff you're into, the stuff you like. After reading your books too, like just the wild ideas and concepts in them. Like I was like when I mentioned it to Johnny, I was like, oh, we could ask Becca to come on. He's like, yeah. Ask her, see if she's interested. I was like, yeah, okay, perfect. So it was great to have you on. We appreciate you coming on and sitting here with us for just over an hour here on a Tuesday night. So hey, and if ever you want to come back on in the future, you have stuff you want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're definitely here. We want to help you. Anything we can do to help you promote your stuff, man, we're down.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. It's been a blast talking to both of you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I would love to do this again for sure. Talk more about
maybe issue 3 comes out. Do you have kind of a time frame for that? Maybe.
I would ideally. So the plan is I would like to have it out by August Fan Expo. That's the initial goal right now. So right now it's in the script stage, and I'm just so fired up after issue 2 is out, and the reception is still very good. So I just want to keep moving ahead. So,
yeah, I mean it's getting really good. Like I'm
Thank you. I'm just looking for it because like what I have in mind for issue 3, it's going to be so fun.
Yeah, because if you say it's a 4-issue thing, so we're getting right into the meat of it now. Like issue 3 should be like that crazy, like what the fuck issue, right?
So, lots of it. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And anything else? Like I'll post any updates online, of course. And that's
so that was the Becca that joined us tonight. You can go follow her on Instagram at _Becca. Great follow on Instagram, so go check out her work there. On her website as well, thebecka.com. You can go buy pretty much everything you've done except for maybe the Dracula book, right?
The Dracula book is on I have a link on my website in the about section, so it's in like Slam Press Big Cartel or something, but there's a link there.
There's a link there. Okay, so
you
pretty much
get it on there. That's awesome.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So then go check it out. It's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, I can't put a higher recommendation on her stuff. If you like really good, fun horror, sci-fi, especially with some really good sci-fi mixed in, that's what I really appreciate about her work. Definitely get in on both Gehenna and the Wormhole Club Tragedy. Just such fun, such just amazing books.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much, and we'll be in touch and all that. So, and thank you everyone for watching. I enjoyed reading your comments too, and I'm losing my words right now. So, yeah. So thank you.
All right. We will be back on Friday afternoon. We're going to be talking about Dark Horse comics. So like if you guys are interested in that, we'll be doing that. So see you then. And thank you very much once again, Becca, for joining us.
All right. Thanks again.